It's Friday, June 8th, and I'm your host, Sarah Beal, filling in for Paula Hersey. On today's show, we talk to Natural Resource Officer Devin Harrington about safe shellfish practices. Then we'll learn more about the One Love initiative at Barnstable High School. And finally, we take a trip to the north side of town to discover what's going on at the Cape Cod Arts Center. Let's take a look at the weather. A fabulous weekend of weather starting today, likely to be the best day of the work week. Mostly sunny skies, warmer with highs in the upper 60s to middle 70s. Saturday will be partly sunny skies, highs generally 70 to 75, and Sunday morning clouds shifting away, turning mostly sunny, highs to 65 to 70. Now let's start with some news you can use. The Barnstable Town Council ratified Matthew K. Sonnabend as the next Chief of Police with a unanimous vote. After the ratification, Chief Sonnabend addressed the council and the residents of the town of Barnstable.
As I stood in the back of the room and I listened to the comments, particularly Ms. Barboza and Councilor Dagwan, Chief McDonald was here with the police department for a long time, 37 years, and he was our chief for 12 years. And during that time, he went out of his way to work extensively with the community, and he set a very high bar for the police department. And during the process of selecting the new chief, you're correct, all the candidates were very excellent, and I'm blessed to continue to work with them and count on them every day as I move forward and seek their advice, as I'll seek the advice of many of you and other people in this room and in the community. Because as Ms. Barboza correctly pointed out, this is a community, and the police department isn't going to do anything by itself. The town council doesn't do anything by itself. We don't get anywhere alone. When we're, at our lowest points or at our highest successes, we're always surrounded by our friends, and those are the people that really get us there. And I may say a dirty word for a minute because I grew up in the town of Falmouth, but I am a Barnstable resident. My family was here with me. All my kids live in the town of Barnstable, and they go to the schools here. They engage in sports here. And I truly believe in this place, and that it is a special place. And I believe in the police department. I would not be here if not for the men and women of the police department, because it is on their successes, or the shoulders of their successes, that I stand to get here. And I'm not going to forget that. But change is both a scary thing and an exciting thing. I'm nervous, certainly standing up here tonight, going right into the frying pan. But I know a lot of people are wondering where are we going from here, what's going to happen, and there'll be change. But I want to assure everybody that the priorities of the police department will remain the same. We're here to serve the public. That's our primary mission. We're here to support the public, provide the services that you're used to, the programs that have been developed. Chief McDonald started us down a path. Well, now it's time to widen that to a road and to work with the community and to entrench even further and develop those programs. Who knows where they're going to go, but to develop them to their utmost. And it's going to be a little bit of trial and error and try new things, and maybe they didn't work, and we'll try something else. But we'll keep moving forward. And we don't intend on going below the bar or around it. We're going to try and go over it. With your help, we'll get there.
Congratulations, Chief Sonnabend. The Department of Public Works will be performing nighttime milling and paving operations on the west end of Main Street in Hyannis beginning on the evening of Monday, June 11th. The limits of work include the entire West End Rotary and the full width of Main Street as far as the entrance to 760 Main Street. The top layer of existing pavement will be removed within the Rotary and this section of roadway and replaced with new asphalt. Work is expected to be completed Wednesday, June 12th, weather permitting. Vehicles will be detoured around the construction operations. Motorists will be directed by police details and/or detour signs for optional routes around the work zone. Operations will start promptly at 8 p.m. and run through 5 a.m., after which time traffic will be opened back onto all lanes of Main Street and the Rotary. As always, please slow down and use extreme caution when traveling in or around the road construction areas and follow posted detour and safety signs. Devin Harrington from Natural Resources has some great information on safe shellfishing handling for us today.
On the phone with us today is Devin Harrington, Natural Resource Officer. Devin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Great. Looks like a wonderful weekend out on the water. Finally, the gray gloomies have gone away, and maybe you'll get some folks out there shellfishing.
Yes, it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend, so we definitely anticipate a lot of people coming out to harvest some quahogs and maybe soft-shelled clams. So we thought it was a good time of year to remind everyone about safe shellfish handling. So basically that includes keeping your shellfish cool. You know, once you harvest it out of the water, you want to make sure you keep your clams cold. So a good idea is to bring along a small cooler with you with some ice packs. Ice is good too, but you want to keep the ice in plastic bags so it doesn't form into fresh water, because clams definitely don't like fresh water. So ice packs and coolers.
Okay. I know when I shellfish, I try to keep all of those shellfish in the water with a flotation device on my basket while I'm still fishing out there as well, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea to keep them submerged. You know, shellfish can warm up very quickly once the sun hits them directly. So keeping that layer of water over them is a great idea. And we also have a lot of people, you know, bring 5-gallon buckets with them, so they fill up water, and then they'll put, you know, the steamers inside the bucket. So when you're at home and you're waiting for your steamers to purge out that sand, you want to not let that water get too warm. We have people who keep it in a refrigerator, you know, in a basement refrigerator, and that's a great idea, because once the summer heat comes, just keeping it in the basement or garage is not adequate.
Right, and there are some real serious health risks with shellfish that are not properly stored and cooled, correct?
Correct, yes. So a large portion of my job here as the aquaculture specialist is to complete Vibrio compliance checks with our commercial aquaculturists. So what that entails is there is a long set of rules mandated by the federal government and the state government that requires our harvesters who are harvesting oysters to ice those oysters within 2 hours or as soon as they leave the landing. So they can't leave the landing without a product that's iced. And it has to be below 45 degrees if they're using a slurry. So that's a good temperature to know for, you know, anyone out there. 45 degrees is the temperature where bacteria stops to grow. So milk and eggs are also mandated using that number. Okay. So we do these compliance checks and make sure all the oysters are iced, and there's tags and there's books that go along with them. So it's a very important process to make sure that people can eat them raw throughout the summer.
Right, and so when you purchase a bag of oysters or a bag of clams, those tags are identified that they've been inspected.
Yeah, so the tags are something that stay with the oysters, and they stay at the actual facility where the oysters were sold for 90 days, because there's a long lag period between when someone gets sick and between when the government figures it out. So we only really figure it out if that individual goes to a hospital and has the correct testing. So when that's done, the state is notified, the Department of Public Health, and then they notify Division of Marine Fisheries and use those tags to track down and go all the way back to the original location where that oyster was harvested. So it's really important to have the tags so we can track down the location, because sometimes, you know, things just happen. People can get sick from raw oysters if you are immunocompromised. Sometimes the elderly have trouble with the bacteria in the oysters. So it can just be a freak accident. It's not necessarily that the harvester or someone did something wrong.
Right.
It's just the risk that's associated with eating raw shellfish.
Right. So let's talk just briefly. We shuck the oysters, the little necks. What do we do once we shuck them if we're not going to eat them right away? Maybe it's at a barbecue or at a party.
Yeah, so that's really important that, a lot of illnesses can be caused in that kind of waiting period. The oysters can heat up very quickly, so you want to keep them on a bed of ice. Crust ice works the best, so you have the surface area of the oysters all being, exposed to that ice. And the quahogs are the same way. If you shuck them and keep them in your fridge, that's a good thing to do. You wouldn't want to put them in the freezer because they will freeze. Okay. And then they probably won't taste too good if you do that.
Yeah, frozen quahogs, yeah, not,
Yeah,
not something
but they're
that.
easier to shock once they're cold. So what we do, we put them in ice, keep them down there for a little while, and then immediately shuck them and put them back on top of the ice. So you never have any sort of wait period. You wouldn't leave a raw steak on your counter, while you're getting, the barbecue sauce ready and all that stuff. So it's, very similar to that.
Excellent. Well, those are great advice for folks that are going out. The water's probably just a little bit warm enough now to get those rakes out and start their shellfish harvesting.
Yes, yeah, we're getting ready to see a lot of people out there.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Devin. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day today.
Of course. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
The Barnstable Youth Commission recently hosted the One Love Foundation at Barnstable High School, a group dedicated to healthy relationship. We spoke with Patty Machado, Director of Recreation, and Matt McCauley, a member of the Youth Commission, about this event. Patty, thank you so much for joining us today. Last week, the Youth Commission hosted the One Love organization's escalation video and kind of like a breakout session. We want to kind of do a recap of how the event went and, and talk about some of the community partners that were involved in that. So what can you tell us about how the event went?
Well, the event was better than ever could have been expected. I mean, we pulled it together in 3 weeks. The Youth Commission did a fabulous job, run by Matt McCauley, who you'll talk to soon. It pulled together wonderfully. And what was amazing was the community. I mean, to the point where the One Love Foundation is using us as a role model nationally, because our whole community came together in a short time to show the support to our youth. And they're just amazed. I mean, we had the town manager here, who's 100% supportive of our Youth Commission and what they're charged to do and make happen. He's very supportive of them. We had the DA here. We had the victims witnesses, the victim support. I'm trying to think what they're called, assistants. Basically, they help people who have been in situations with domestic violence. So we had 2 people from the DA's office who stepped right in. We had the Barnstable Police here. We had quite a few community officers, and then we had Jessica J. from the police department, who is their victim specialist and for the town. And then we had the Independence House, and lo and behold, the Sheriff's Department showed up. And the Independence House did a lot of help with counseling, and we're hoping that we can do something long-term so that the youth in the Barnstable High School has a place to go to get whatever they need, so that domestic violence in our town doesn't continue. We're going to stop it at the school age, so they understand a positive relationship and what it looks like and how to help a friend. I was amazed that one of the big discussions afterwards was, oh wow, the youth doesn't even know where to go and how to get help. They didn't even know it was available to them. So there was a lot of learning. I had a parent drive down to my office that Thursday afternoon, to come in to say thank you to preparing her child for going away to school.
Wow.
And I was shocked. She came in, she goes, I just want to talk to you. She said, I was just amazed. My daughter came home with the packet, and we went through the packet. She has a plan so that, if her friends or herself are in an unhealthy relationship or need help, she knows where to get it now. And it doesn't matter where she goes to college, where these people go to college, they'll be able to find a place to get the help that they need. I also had a young man who made it a point last Friday to come into my office. He's at the youth center all the time, and he's not a young man that would actually step out and talk about anything. But he said what he learned, he knows he can get help now for his family. Who would know that, we're thinking about their own relationships and their friends' relationships, but they actually were looking at the bigger picture. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
No.
And we need to look out for each other. And this community, again, I can't say enough about all the people that came through. You yourself jumped in. As soon as we had a lot of people say, oh, I want to be involved, I'd love to have the opportunity to help out. And people like you make a huge difference. Our community is a strong one, and nationally we're going to be getting recognized through the One Love Foundation because of it. And our youth identified this program. That's the bottom line. They're seeing the problem here in our own town, and our Youth Commission brought it forward. They've been working on this for 3 years, trying to get this in. Caroline Neville did research. She looked at all the different groups across the board. she identified this, and she wasn't able to get it into the school while she was here. She graduated last year, and Matt McCauley took charge, and the rest of the commission supported him, and the rest of the youth in the school, because it wasn't just kids from the Youth Commission, it was other kids from the town within the school system that jumped in to support the program.
Yeah, a big part of it was the peer aspect of it. You know, we broke down into sessions afterwards, after watching the movie, and you know, it was, you know, 2 adults, but then a peer member was also included in the conversation to kind of help drive the conversation, and, you know, maybe relate to the students a little bit more than myself and, you know, some of the adults might have. And I think that was a wonderful piece, and I was very happy and glad to be able to participate in that, because it's a, you know, it's a really important thing, and it's not necessarily something people talk about. You know, relationship violence and domestic violence and those kinds of things. So kudos to the Youth Commission for bringing this forward, and your support and all the support of everyone else that was involved.
Yeah, we were very fortunate, and the schools let us come in. I don't think the timing was the greatest. It was the 2 days before they're going to graduate.
Yeah.
But you know, that in itself, the kids were given the opportunity to opt out, and so they came down and actually went into a small group themselves if they opt out. So they actually got all the packets, they got all the information, so they didn't leave here empty-handed. But the majority of the kids stayed and watched the film and actually went to the small groups and had communication. And they know our town cares. You know, that's the bottom line, is even though you leave the walls of the Barnstable High School and you're still not leaving our town, we all care about the youth after they leave here, and we're one town and we all have to look out for each other. And I think that was what was driven home more than anything, that we care about each other.
Yes, wonderful, Patty. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Youth Commission really spearheaded bringing the One Love organization here to the high school. Let's talk a little bit about what went into bringing them here.
Well, right off the bat, actually the chair of the Youth Commission, Matt Hersey, sort of handed to me the task of One Love and trying to get into the schools. At first we were somewhat hesitant because we have been working on this for a few years, and it's always led to kind of being turned down, or something comes up or whatever, but I decided that we really need to keep with it. So as sort of the chairman of this subcommittee, I immediately contacted the One Love Foundation, knowing that we only had a few weeks really to pull this together for this year's seniors. So after that, I got in touch with Claire from the One Love Foundation in Boston, and from there it was just a lot of planning with the help of Principal Pat Clark and so forth.
Wonderful. Now, is this kind of giving out information about, you know, healthy relationships and dating, is that something that the Youth Commission had seen that maybe was an issue here at the high school, or is it just something, you know, you see nationwide, and, you know, it's a topic that you want to focus on?
So certainly nationwide it is a problem that in general everyone should have some knowledge on this topic, but I know personally that there are people that I know, there are people on the Youth Commission who know stories of things like this happening, you know, relationships going bad. So it certainly is a problem that exists at Barnstable High School and in our community.
I think one of the main things that I took away when I participated was, you know, people might not know what it is they're seeing. You know, you might see a relationship and you know, something about it makes you uncomfortable, but you don't know what the words are. You don't know what it is you're seeing. And I think that was one of the things that I felt that the escalation, the movie escalation, and the organization kind of wants people to recognize, is knowing what you're seeing, so that you can put words to it and you can give your friends and your family the support. And I think that was really, you know, the main takeaway I think a lot of people took from it. It was like they might be seeing things that they might not have realized were a negative.
Yes, identifying the problem in the first place is often the hardest step of the process. I mean, there's always this give or take of, oh, it's just a joke, it's just one case, and then it, you know, happens again and again, and then you have to be able to identify what it is. And the escalation video and workshop did a great job of doing it. It's definitely one of the more modern videos on this topic. You know, we have some other videos in the school for other important topics that are a bit more dated. So students definitely, students and adults were able to relate to this video very well.
Are there plans to hopefully bring this program back in the future?
Yes, we're certainly planning already to hopefully bring it back next year and in following years.
What did it mean to the Youth Commission to get such community support for this program?
It was really great. I mean, being able to see that everyone from all parts of our community, from our local government, and everyone else, just everyone being there to support us on something like this. I mean, at first we were worried that it could spark controversy, you know, something that there might be lashback from for people being too offended or something like that. But no, everyone was just there behind us, and it was really great.
Wonderful. Well, good luck next year in bringing this program,
Thank
and
you.
feel free to reach out to Channel 18. We'd love to be able to do anything we can to help you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Cape Cod Art Center has a new name and is celebrating its 70th year here in Barnstable. We learn more from Executive Director Roberta Miller.
We're here today at the Cape Cod Art Center. A new name, but an old building. With me, Director Roberta Miller.
Hi, Paula.
How are you?
I'm good.
That's good. So the building is the same, but there's a new name.
Yes, the building
So what was
is
the old name?
Cape Cod Art Association.
Yeah.
And it was that name since 1948. We're celebrating our 70th anniversary this year, and it's been a really busy time for us.
So rebranding at 70. Tell us about that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Well, decided that possibly the name association excluded people in their perception of what we do. We wanted to make sure that people understand that we're a community-based organization, that we're open to the public all the time, that we have activities and events that everyone is invited to. And so we thought, well, maybe we'll change our name this year as part of the celebration to Cape Cod Arts Center, which, you know, it has a connotation of being much more inclusive.
Right, and let's just kind of back up a little bit. The Art Center here, this building houses a lot of exhibits. You do a whole lot of classes too.
Yes, yes, we're open all year round. We're open 7 days a week. And we have a very large educational program that is geared towards young children all the way up to professional artists. We have beginners all the way to professionals. So it's a very comprehensive program. And so the building is busy all the time. Yeah.
And exhibits as well. So these exhibits change out on a regular basis, so there's always something new here?
Just about every single month. We have about 15 exhibits a year, including our high school show. We're going to have a very special exhibit coming up on June 22nd that I'm very excited about. In celebration of our 70th anniversary, where we have invited artwork of founding members from 1948 through the 50s and 60s. We have invited artwork from all of our presidents over the 70 years. And we have invited some special guests who, you know, have been longtime members of the Art Center that have gone on to do really great things in the art world. So we're very excited about it. It's going to open mid-June, and we're going to have a special reception on June 22nd at 6 o'clock, which everyone is invited to. And we will, you know, have a display of the history of the Arts Center and its importance through the art world here on Cape Cod. We're the second oldest institution on the Cape in terms of art centers. The only one that's been here longer is Provincetown Art Center. A lot of the people who belong to Provincetown Art Association and Museum were very excited that there was a mid-Cape presence for, you know, for them to teach in or, you know, to exhibit. So we attracted Robert Motherwell, Henry Henshey, Hans Hofmann, and, you know, a lot of the really well-known artists to come into the Mid-Cape area in Barnstable and exhibit and teach here. And it's just exciting to see how important, you know, we were in the landscape of art history.
Right, and you know, I think a lot of us do associate art on Cape Cod with Provincetown, but the Mid-Cape area is also a mecca for artists as well. The creative economy, you know, we talk about it in these abstract terms, but the people that exhibit here and the folks that teach here literally are making a living at art.
Yes, they are. You know, we have over 950 members now. And we attract a lot of other people all over the Cape and all over the country to come in and take our classes and to exhibit in our galleries. So it is important. There's probably over 25,000 working artists on the Cape now, and you know, the landscape has really changed in terms of that. And I think when people come to visit, you know, tourists and visitors, they love to gallery hop and see all of the different offerings, and it's really exciting because you can find great institutions in almost every town.
Yeah, that is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So Barnstable itself, especially the village, is kind of this little hub of art. There is just a wonderful event that happens every year that you curate and kind of get going in conjunction, which is Art in the Village.
Right.
And that's coming up in June as well.
It is. This is our 16th year of having it on the courthouse lawn. It's June 22nd and 23rd from 10 to 4, both days. We have an all-day music festival going on at the same time for both days, and we're going to have some food offerings this year and some exciting artisans and crafters coming in to show everybody their work. So I hope everybody comes down. We have great children's activities happening, projects that they could do while they're there and bring home. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Excellent. It's a really wonderful event. I've been several times and tried not to miss it each year. And how about classes for the summer? I know you mentioned youth, but are there youth classes for folks this year?
All year. We start 3 to 5-year-olds with mommies or caretakers, and we go all the way up to high school students. Okay. For the older kids, we have a 1-week photography program where they go out on location and shoot with a teacher and then come back and show everybody on the computer what they've done. We also have a drawing program, and we have a lot of fabulous classes for 6 to 14-year-olds. So it's a full schedule.
And your website you can sign up for classes, look at what classes are out there, all the events that are happening.
Absolutely. CapeCodArtsCenter.org.
Make it easy.
Oh, yeah. Right, exactly.
Excellent. Anything else you want to tell residents of Barnstable about the new art center name or the anniversary?
I just want to invite them to, you know, come in and see what we're like, and don't be afraid to walk through and see all of the exhibits. This year we've been also putting in our lobby a 70th anniversary exhibit of people and artwork who were instrumental in getting us to this point today. So that's been bringing in a lot of people to look at the history. Barnstable Village is a very historic town. You know, the oldest courthouse is here, and a lot of houses on the National Register. So this is one other place to come in and see its great history.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Roberta.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful weekend. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.